What is going on? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. I'm here with a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu, my arch nemesis, Mr. Corey Tate. What is up, brother? How are you doing?
Man? Arch nemesis, because we met at a tournament. That's funny.
Exactly. Well, you defeated me at a tournament, more specifically. So that's why you earned that title, man. You earned it the hard way.
Those matches, they were epic. I mean, we did stand up for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then we went.
It was great. I love it, man. Most guys just like to pull guard, but I came from a judo background, and you just don't do that. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I don't do that guard pulling.
Dude, not to get too much into our matches, but it was really cool. You were doing a lot of judo, and because you were doing judo, I was doing a lot of wrestling. And it was just so cool, man. We were just countering each other constantly. It was awesome. I've watched that like 2 or 3 times since then.
I got to rewatch them. They were good matches. I'm going to try to put them on the channel. Maybe I'll try to splice some of the footage into this interview. How about that? Maybe if you're watching this video, you'll see
pointing
things pop up.
Video here.
Yeah, I'll point. Yeah, exactly. But dude, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And, I really love meeting people through competition, and I've made a lot of friends through competition, and I'm glad to count you in that number, dude, because you seem like a really cool guy. So glad to have you on the show so we can hang out. And I just want to start off by asking you the same question that we start off every episode of the show with, which is, how has training in the martial arts impacted your mental health since you started training?
Oh, dude, I am I'm a storyteller, so I'll answer that with a story, actually. For me, I had gotten out of the military, Air Force Special Warfare. My job was controlling aircraft for the Army, blowing stuff up, doing all that kind of stuff. And I thought I knew a lot of stuff. I thought I was a badass, which some people might say, you are, but you're not a badass when you start something brand new. You're just the new guy, right? So got out of the military, moved to Bentonville, Arkansas, and didn't have a job yet, but I had some interviews lined up. I was totally lost, man. My wife, Mary, we have a 9-month-old now, Isaac, but back in the day, we were just boyfriend, girlfriend. We'd been dating for a couple of years at that point. But she was still living in New Jersey. I packed up everything, moved here on a whim, moved here because I had an opportunity for a job interview. Not even a job, And so I was pretty lost. I didn't have any money, didn't know what to do. And I walked into Inferno MMA, which is the jiu-jitsu gym around here in Bentonville. And this guy, I just walked in the gym, and this guy, Jeremy Edwards, he was there. And Jeremy kind of looked at me, and he was like, "Hey, you here to train?" And I went, "Yeah." And it was like Wednesday morning, like 6 a.m. It was the redheaded stepchild class. It was like 3 people in morning class at that time. And I was like, yeah, I'm here to train. And I was kind of hesitant. And I went, yeah, I was a blue belt. So, I'm a blue belt. I don't have any money. And I don't really have any friends right now. I don't know. I just started pouring out, and he goes, out of nowhere, he goes, "Oh, I'll be your friend." Just such a cool dude. And,
I love it. I love that.
Immediately helped my mental health. Immediately, dude. I went right into class, rolled with him. And I just kept going for like 3 years. Him and I would train in morning class. Then we co-taught morning class with Berto, who's one of the black belts of the gym. And then it took a dark turn last Christmas. Not this Christmas, the one before. He shot himself, committed suicide. So, every time I do half guard now, I think of Jeremy's half guard, which was freaking wicked. That dude had a solid half guard.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's
thanks, man. Unfortunately, it happens. I'm sure you probably know people that have unalived themselves that do jiu-jitsu. So
it sucks.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of getting me through different jobs, at that time, I didn't know if if Mary would fly down here and live with me. It was that tug where I was like, hey, you got to live with me, not live with your family. Let's start this whole life thing together, She was like, I don't know, get a job. So it all worked out, dude. And jiu-jitsu, just putting things on a credit card for a little bit, going to the gym every day, getting the hardest thing of your day done at the beginning of the day before the day even starts is freaking primo. So that helped me through everything, man.
That's so powerful what he did there for you, just by hopping on and saying, I'll be your friend. That's classic jiu-jitsu, bro, right there, for sure.
Oh yeah, man.
For sure. It's great. And that's really kind of the vibe at a lot of jiu-jitsu schools is like, oh, you want to show up and train and get a sweat on? I'll be your new best friend. It's great. It's kind of like that scene in Step Brothers where they just realize that they have everything in common. And they're like, did we just become best friends? It's kind of like that, just over and over again with jiu-jitsu guys. So I'm glad that was helpful to you, man. So it certainly has been helpful to me too.
Yeah, dude, it's every time I'm at a low point, it's crazy actually, to be honest with you, a lot of people have had low points that do jiu-jitsu. They have talked about wanting to kill themselves. They talked about struggling with their mental health. They talked about depression. I roll with a dude who has schizophrenia, and there's a lot going on there. For me, I'm the opposite. I've never been that guy that's been depressed, that's been so far down. I've had those thoughts. And I've always been the guy that tries to get everybody else out of the funk. And so I'm the perpetual optimist. That's just always trying to smile, help my friends out. I've got to watch all my buddies, make sure they're good, tap them on the shoulder, see who's okay here once a week, twice a week. It's you have to take care of each other and you need to support each other. I think maybe once or twice over the years, in the last like 8 years or so, 8-9 years I've done jiu-jitsu. I think there's maybe less than a handful of times I felt that I've had to call somebody to get help. So it hasn't happened often, but when it does, when you call somebody that's your friend that also does jiu-jitsu, there's just another element to that. They just get it and they can be real with you and help you out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. What do you think that is? That aspect of it?
Dude, I just think,
what do you think makes jiu-jitsu guys special in that aspect?
I think whether you do like rubber guard and you're just kind of flopping around, being flexible, or whether you're a freaking minotaur on the mats, just wrecking everybody. Everybody says os when they, get on off the mats, or even just in their head. They don't do it. But I think the commonality with all that is take your ego off the mat. I think that's like a derivative of what os means, or that's what I was told. It could be BS. I was told that by a black belt back in the day. But I mean, dude, I think everybody who does jits just knows the level of humbleness you have to have, because there's always somebody not only that's just better than you, but they were you. It's not just that they're currently better than you. It's that they were you. They went through the plateaus you went through. They went through the struggles you went through. They went through a lot of the life stuff you went through. I mean, if you have somebody that passes away, a friend that passes away, if you get divorced, if you get married, if you have a kid, if your kid unfortunately passes away, I guarantee you got a gym of 50 people, drop a pin. Somebody's been through that. Somebody's been through that experience. And I think when we have an amalgamation of people who have all these different experiences in life that go to a jiu-jitsu gym, and there's not anything that's sifted through a filter, it's just people being people, that's where you get the best advice, the best mental health outlet. I truly believe that.
Yeah, it's like people kind of have their guard down, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, man. How do you feel like jiu-jitsu helps your life off the mats, like your relationships with other people or your career or just other aspects of your life?
One more time, the service kind of cut out a little bit.
How do you feel jiu-jitsu helps other parts of your life, like your relationships or your career or stuff like that?
I mean, bro, sometimes jiu-jitsu hurts my relationship because I'm like, open mats on Friday. I'm going, Mary. And she's like, okay. And then I wake up and I'm like, open mats on Saturday. I'm going, Mary. And she's like, not okay. I mean,
that's funny.
That's the time old battle, but some of the ways it's helped. I mean, dude, there's something I saw online, I feel like a year ago. And it was so simplistic. It was like cavemen didn't have depression. And again, that's such a caveman phrase. It's so simplistic. It can be overly simplified, but when you when you get, I guess, more granular with it, cavemen were always moving. They were just moving shit all the time, moving rocks. They were doing the bonk and drag. They were doing all that stuff, dude. I mean, they didn't have time to sit there and like wallow in their self-contempt, you know? So I feel like
I love it. The bonk and drag.
Dude, that's a shout out to
you. Got to trade for that, dude. Some like you got to get some of those like mace bells or something like that.
Dude, that's actually a shout out to my old. This is such a my old wrestling coach / history teacher, which I feel like every wrestling coach ever was somebody's history teacher. Right.
I think it's a requirement.
But, Coach Mandigo, he would always call it the bonk and drag where he referenced cavemen. Just crazy, man.
That's really funny. But yeah, I mean, you're right. That's like a sled drag mixed with a heavy mace swing.
And dude, it's like, you know, people who do jiu-jitsu consistently, it just gets you out of a rut. I mean, you're going to stay in a rut if you don't unfuck yourself, to use a military phrase. Right. And dude, yeah, you have to, and jiu-jitsu forces you to move. And I think the key there is the days that you don't want to go are the days you should go. The days that you're like, oh yeah, I could go today. I mean, shit, dog. I'm at the top of my game. This is easy right now. I'm flowing. I'm going to like it's going to be all lower belts there. I'm going to crush everybody anyway. I'm just going to flow roll today, right? I mean, there's a time and a place for all of that. But the days where you're like, man, I've been plateauing lately. I don't really know. Do I deserve to be a brown belt? Do I deserve to be a purple belt? Do I deserve to be a black belt? You know, there are days in the gym as a brown belt where someone's like, roll with that dude. And I'm like, yeah. And then I get murdered by this blue belt because I thought I was going to chill and not really do much. And there are days where I'll roll with another brown belt or a black belt and something will happen in my favor there. And so I think the waves are so high and low. I mean, dude, you just have to stay consistent. I think people who do jiu-jitsu, they just get it, you know?
The consistency is a big part of it. My friend, Scotty Pelzel, one time, he said something really that like summarized it really well. He was saying that if someone's really good at jiu-jitsu and you're really good at jiu-jitsu, you understand the kind of discipline that it takes to get really good. So you have this inherent respect for that other person because you know what it takes to have to be that disciplined. So if someone else is as good as you or better, then you have an immense amount of respect for them because of that discipline.
Oh, for sure, dude.
We met at a tournament, so obviously you're someone who competes, right? There's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys that don't compete, or maybe people who are a little bit afraid of getting hurt in a tournament, or maybe it's not a part of their goals. What do you feel? Do you feel like everyone needs to compete? Do you feel like it's something that, you know, maybe you don't have to do it if you don't feel like it?
Dude, I feel like it's the latter. It's don't do it if you don't feel like it. I feel like you do get an insane amount of benefits from competing. You see where you're at. I've got a guy that I roll with, Hunter Beck, such a freaking great training partner. He told me a story of a patient one day when he was a nurse and super old. He was like, what's your secret? She just said, motion is lotion, baby. So I think if you're just moving, even if you're not competing, I mean, that's awesome. At the same time, I've got another dude in my gym. He's like, I'm not going to say his age. He's like upper 50s, I think. I don't know. But his name's John. In my head, I refer to him as Prison Santa because he was in the Air Force for a long time. Dude's covered with tattoos. He's got white hair, and he's a super strong dude. He could just throw you through a freaking wall. If he competed at his age, weight, regardless of that even, he would just murder. I think it really depends on what you want to get out of jiu-jitsu, what you want to get out of life. For example, like for me, I compete and I do jiu-jitsu because I want to be good at self-defense and I want to help defend other people. Simple as that. I just want to have situational awareness and be able to de-escalate conflict. In terms of, at least for right now, me going everywhere and competing at the big tournaments, doing all that stuff. I've got other things going on in my life. So I'm not doing that. I'm just doing local tournaments. But for me personally, as long as I do check-ins frequently, every couple months, and I can see I'm not full of crap and I actually know what I'm doing, win, lose, whatever, it's a good check. It's a good reality check. That way I can make sure I'm going toward the path and I'm not just flow rolling 100% of the time just to check a box, you know?
Man, that's so well said. And I feel like that's a great way to put it. It's like a check-in.
Yeah, dude. That's all it is for me. It's just a check-in, man. And some people, they never check in. They are kings at their gym or queens at their gym, and they submit everybody, and or nobody can pass their guard, or they can sweep everybody, or they leg lock everybody, whatever it is. But if you never go to a tournament, you won't ever really know what's out there. And what I said at the beginning, how it really correlates to life as well, is so what? There are plenty of people who have never traveled,
right?
Never been outside the U.S., never been 100 miles away from their house, and they are perfectly happy with who they are. So,
right.
More power to you.
Right. The way that I see it is like, if you were playing basketball, but you never played a game of basketball, you just only ever went to basketball practice and did the drills, like you're kind of missing out. Like it's a lot of fun, you know, like when you really get into it, you kind of let yourself just relax as much as you can. And you just realize that at the end of the day, just doing jiu-jitsu with someone, the only difference is that there's a referee there and there's some people watching. But honestly, if you're a white belt or a blue belt, like it's probably not even going to be that many people watching you. Probably just your friends and your training partners. Most everyone is there to watch their people. You know what I mean? Like there might be a lot of people there, but they're not, I hate to break it to you, but they're not all watching you. Yeah. You know, there's like 10 mats going, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I try to tell people is like, look, like at the end of the day, it's just your training partners and their training partners are watching. We're basically at a big open mat and there's a referee to make sure that everyone's safe. So actually, you're actually safer than you are in the gym.
I get that perspective
because you have a ref.
I guess I would also say to that, do you play ping pong, Paul?
No, I hate ping pong. I'm terrible.
What about foosball? You play foosball or pool? Any of those games?
Yeah, I have.
Pool or foosball?
Pool more so, for sure.
So how'd you do in your last pool tournament?
Dude, I've never done a pool tournament. I'd probably get my ass kicked for sure.
That's what I mean, dude. That's the same mentality people have, you know?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I totally get that. And I'm not trying to say people should compete, you know, every weekend, right. But just, you know, you should try it. Like if you've never done it before, you know, give it a shot. Like it's fun. You're not going to die. Like you're going to be okay. It's no more dangerous than driving down that interstate and going to an open mat at your local gym. Like that's what I always ask people is like people who say they don't like competing or they don't want to compete. I'm like, well, do you go to open mats? Oh yeah, I love open mat. Well, it's the same thing. Like it's basically the same thing. There's just a couple more people watching and there's a referee. That's kind of my take on it. But that being said, I mean, next level tournaments like ADCC trials or something like that, that's a different conversation. Yeah. You know what I mean? In my opinion, like if you're trying to go pro, that's a different ego check for sure. Like I did the ADCC trials. Man, I did not last long.
Dude, I bet those
did not last long. Tough tournament, tough room. You know what I'm saying? Tough open mat, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man.
But dude, let me ask you this. What do you feel like you've learned from doing tournaments since you started? Like, what are some of the biggest takeaways you've had from like a mental perspective?
Dude, mine's, I guess, a little bit controversial. For me personally, I like submission-only tournaments more than points tournaments. Which is weird because the Gracie combative system, it's all based on, you know, combatives and what level essentially someone can do more damage to you. You can do damage to somebody else. So point system makes sense. I'm not saying that. I'm saying these days there are game jiu-jitsu players and there are jiu-jitsu players. I would say, actually more aptly, I would say there are people who do the jiu-jitsu game and there are people who do jiu-jitsu self-defense. And, you know, there are people who do both. Like some of the best in the world, they can do both. They can turn it on and turn it off, do whatever they want. For me personally, I like sub-only tournaments more than points tournaments because even if I win, let's say I win 2-8 and I didn't submit the guy and I won because I swept them and then maintained mount for 4 seconds. And then that 8 seconds of the entire match is what made me win the match. 8 seconds out of 6 minutes. But maybe for 6 minutes, that guy was wrecking me. Maybe for 6 minutes, if it was real life, I would have been that dude's bitch, you know? and yet I win. And there have been I've had moments like that in tournaments, blue belt, purple belt, whatever, and where I, quite frankly, am getting wrecked a lot of the time. And then the last 30 seconds, I turn on the afterburners, bro, because I've got a gas tank in me. I got that dog in me. But dude, it doesn't feel deserved. It felt like I played a game. And to some people, to a lot of people, that's fine. And that is okay for them. I'm not even saying that facetiously. I mean that literally. I don't care. Do what you want to do. But for me, my goals are self-defense. And so even if I win a tournament on points, I don't care as much about advancing, winning, all that stuff. I'd rather win from submissions, because that's what I'm going for. What I'm going for is to neutralize my opponent, not just, do you get what I'm trying to say?
100%. That's why I tell people that I'm coaching, like, try to develop a style of jiu-jitsu that's from the feet, not the guard pulling stuff. Because, dude, it's not going to work in a self-defense situation. If your goal is self-defense, you got to know how to throw people and clinch and do punch block and all that good stuff. You can't just pull guard. That's not how it works. You're going to get soccer kicked. You know what I mean?
Dude, it's okay if people don't want to do full MMA. Like, that's totally fine. I don't typically do full MMA. I've been doing a handful of Muay Thai and kickboxing classes. And I get freaking tuned up in those classes. You know, my buddy Justin, that dude would tune me up. He does in jiu-jitsu too, but I'm just saying, like, I always think of it, you're a big judo player, I'm a big wrestling player. I always think of it from, and do I have positional control? I would much rather do everything from top than do it from bottom. And do I do a lot of jiu-jitsu from bottom? Do I do leg locks? Sure. Do I do submissions from bottom, side control, or guard? Sure. But most of the time I'm thinking in the moment, hey, I want to be on top of this person. I want to control them. I want to submit them. That's where I want to be, because in an unknown situation, dude, you got a heroin addict on the street. They can bend like Mr. Friggin' Fantastic. And you better be on top when that happens, you know?
Right. Exactly. And just people might have a weapon or all sorts of nonsense, you know, like you can't, I don't know. It's crazy to me, man. Like, one of my coaches, Mike Morgan, really drove it home for us often. Like, he's more of an MMA coach than a jiu-jitsu coach. And he would just tell us a lot, like, guys, you don't want to be on your back in a street fight. He'd just remind us about that all the time. And one time I was playing off my back a lot, and he told me, he's like, Paul, I want you to pretend like you're at wrestling class from now on. You're not allowed to be on your back. It's like, everyone else here is doing jiu-jitsu, but you're a wrestler. This is wrestling practice, and you're not allowed to be on your back. You lose the match. And I was like, oh, and I got it, you know, but that's what he had to do. He had to, like, put little parameters around me. He's like, you're in wrestling.
Dude, I bet that leveled you up.
And, it was great. It was huge, but especially from a self-defense perspective, because I was too comfortable off my back, and it changed my style a lot. But I try to share that with people because, dude, good tip. Yeah. Good tip for people.
Dude, that's a great tip. And a lot of people also, the famous like GIF or meme or whatever online is just stand up. You know that?
Yeah, dude, of course. It's truth to it.
For real, just stand up. A lot of the times people will roll and they'll get off the mat and they'll ask me for advice, or they'll be like, you see that? What do you think I should have done? And I'm not going to be like, you should have done this and that and then do that, because it's so situationally dependent. I could know the move. I could know the defense, but I didn't feel the pressure they were feeling in the moment, right? I can tell them what you can do to respond, but not in that moment exactly what they could have done, because I didn't feel what they felt. Right. What I know, though, is what probably would have helped if you stood up and stopped fighting like a cat on the ground, you know?
Corey, I wish we had more time, but I've got to teach the kids class here at Jiu-Jitsu Outlet pretty soon, and I appreciate you. But before we wrap this up, can you tell us, is there anything you want to promote or talk about before we wrap this up?
My business, Tate Consulting, COT8 Consulting. I help small businesses get on their feet. I do sales development and training, leadership development and training. I do like one-day trainings for companies if you want to bring me in and do some managerial training things, kind of like retreats, getaways in hotels, that kind of stuff. So hit me up if you guys need something like that. If you want somebody with that kind of knowledge and perspective, I'd love to link up with you. My email is Corey@cot8consulting.com.
Dude, that's awesome. I love doing that kind of stuff. That could be a whole different podcast. We should talk about that sometime. Maybe we'll do like a Facebook Live in the group or something like that about business and stuff like that, because we could talk for an hour or two.
That's a great idea, dude. For real.
But,
you've done a great job with this.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. We'll have to do this again, and we'll have to link up sometime and run it back
For
somewhere.
sure, yeah.
And figure out a way to get another round in. And whether it's open mat or tournament or whatever, I hope we see you soon, man.
Good luck on your super fight, dude.
Thanks, dude. I'm going to kick some butt and hopefully not get reverse triangled like a certain someone.
Dude, you'll do great, man. You'll crush it.
Yeah, dude. Much love, brother. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the show.
See you, buddy.
Bye.